Hello friends. Have you ever wondered what happens when the most intense zodiac sign falls in love? What kind of marriage partner is a Scorpio, and how do they match up with every other sign in the zodiac? Today, we're diving deep, Scorpio style, into the world of astrological compatibility. So buckle up. Because when you're talking about Scorpio, you're talking about passion, loyalty, mystery, and just a little bit of danger. Let's break down Scorpio's marriage compatibility with each sign, one by one. Are they destined for fireworks, or for emotional warfare? Scorpio Aries. This pairing is a cosmic collision of fire and water, intensity and instinct. Scorpio, ruled by Pluto, is all about transformation, depth, and emotional power. Aries, ruled by Mars, charges forward with fearless energy and an unrelenting thirst for adventure. Put them together and you get a marriage that is anything but ordinary. It's high voltage, high stakes, and highly unpredictable. From the outside, it might look like passion-fueled chaos, or like the ultimate power couple rising from the ashes of every challenge. But let's be clear, this relationship isn't for the faint of heart. When Scorpio meets Aries, the attraction is immediate and electric. These two don't fall in love gently, they crash into it. There's a magnetism between them that's hard to ignore. Aries is drawn to Scorpio's mystery and confidence, intrigued by what lies beneath the surface. Scorpio, on the other hand, is captivated by Aries' raw courage, independence, and refusal to be intimidated. It's the classic scenario of the hunter meeting their match. They spark off each other in ways that are both thrilling and terrifying, often mistaking tension for passion. And sometimes, it's both. However, the very traits that ignite the passion can also fuel the fire of conflict. Aries is impulsive, blunt, and thrives on action. They don't like sitting with their emotions or unpacking uncomfortable truths. Scorpio is the opposite, emotionally complex, introspective, and deeply affected by even the smallest perceived betrayals. Aries will say something in the heat of the moment and forget it 5 minutes later. Scorpio will remember it 5 years later. In a marriage, this creates a minefield of miscommunication. Aries may feel constantly misunderstood or accused, while Scorpio may feel abandoned emotionally or dismissed. Power dynamics are also a central theme in this union. Both signs want to lead, but in very different ways. Aries leads by bold action, taking charge and pushing forward with sheer momentum. Scorpio leads with strategy and influence, often behind the scenes. In marriage, this can manifest as subtle wars of dominance. Scorpio may manipulate emotionally to get what they want, while Aries resists control at all costs. If not kept in check, these dynamics can turn the relationship into a battlefield where each partner is fighting for sovereignty rather than working as a team. And yet, if these two can evolve past the instinct to dominate and instead choose to trust, magic can happen. Aries must learn that not every fight has to be won and not every emotion needs to be outrun. Scorpio, in turn, must learn to release the need for total control and allow vulnerability without suspicion. When these lessons are embraced, something remarkable emerges. Aries brings action to Scorpio's introspection, giving their emotional world a direction and purpose. Scorpio gives Aries emotional depth, grounding their restlessness and helping them grow beyond impulsive living. In a marriage, the Scorpio-Aries duo has two possible fates: burn out in a blaze of unmet expectations and emotional warfare, or rise like a phoenix from the ashes of their clashes, stronger, wiser, and more deeply bonded than anyone thought possible. It all comes down to emotional maturity, mutual respect, and the willingness to truly see each other beyond ego. If they can master that, they won't just survive, they'll thrive. A force of nature, unstoppable, unbreakable, and unforgettable. Scorpio-Taurus. This is a pairing written in the stars with bold ink and contrasting strokes, two opposites magnetized by a shared depth that lies just beneath their striking differences. Scorpio, ruled by Pluto and Mars, is the storm beneath the surface, emotional, passionate, intense, and always seeking to transform. Taurus, ruled by Venus, is the calm in the storm, earthy, sensual, patient, and focused on security. Where Taurus builds slowly and methodically, Scorpio dives deep and craves the raw truth. From the outside, they may look like they're from different planets, but at their core, both signs are fixated on loyalty, permanence, and something real. This is not a casual union. This is destiny pulling opposites into a marriage that can either become the most grounding, empowering force in their lives, or a tug-of-war that neither will back down from. Taurus is immediately attracted to Scorpio's intensity. There's something magnetic and mysterious about Scorpio that awakens the normally composed Taurus in surprising ways. Scorpio, in turn, is drawn to Taurus's calm strength and sensual energy. There's a sense of safety in Taurus, a groundedness that Scorpio finds both comforting and challenging. Scorpio likes to test limits and read between the lines. Taurus speaks in actions, not riddles. Together, they create a dynamic where emotional intimacy and physical connection intertwine in a slow-burning, deeply satisfying way. In the early stages of love, this can feel like fate itself. They're each offering the other something they've never quite experienced. Scorpio offers emotional alchemy, and Taurus offers emotional safety. But here's where the paradox begins to show. As much as they complete each other, they also deeply challenge each other. Scorpio thrives on emotional truth, change, and psychological probing. They want to dig into the soul and uncover what's hidden. Taurus, on the other hand, resists change and prefers the comfort of the known. They don't open up easily, and they certainly don't like being pushed or psychoanalyzed. Scorpio may interpret Taurus's need for emotional space as coldness or avoidance. Meanwhile, Taurus may see Scorpio's intense emotional probing as unnecessary drama or even manipulation. These misunderstandings can lead to power struggles, where neither partner is willing to back down. After all, Taurus is stubborn, and Scorpio is just as unyielding, only more covert about it. In marriage, the real work begins when both realize they're not here to change each other, but to understand and complement one another. Scorpio has to learn that Taurus doesn't speak in riddles or react to emotional pressure. They need patience, consistency, and time. Pushing Taurus to open up before they're ready only makes them dig in their heels. Likewise, Taurus must recognize that Scorpio's intensity is not a threat, it's a need. A need for emotional truth, transparency, and depth. If Taurus offers their loyalty and presence, Scorpio begins to soften and trust. And once Scorpio trusts, their love becomes fiercely protective and emotionally generous. This is when the relationship moves from resistance to resilience. Another cornerstone of their potential success lies in their shared values. Both signs want something lasting. They aren't interested in fleeting romance or shallow connection. In marriage, they are each deeply loyal, almost to a fault. Scorpio is known for all-or-nothing devotion, and Taurus doesn't give up easily once they've committed. Their idea of love isn't just passion, it's protection, endurance, and shared purpose. Over time, this becomes a stabilizing force in the relationship. Even when they argue, the foundation often remains untouched, because both understand that leaving is not an option. They'd rather stay and fight for each other, even if it takes time. Ultimately, the Scorpio and Taurus marriage is a study in balance and transformation. Scorpio teaches Taurus that change doesn't always mean instability, it can mean growth, intimacy, and evolution. Taurus teaches Scorpio that peace doesn't mean emotional shallowness, it can mean security, trust, and unconditional love. When both stop trying to reshape each other and instead learn to grow together, this union becomes unshakable. They're not just lovers, they're guardians of each other's inner world. A marriage between Scorpio and Taurus, when nurtured with patience and vulnerability, is one of the most powerful, enduring, and soul-deep connections in the zodiac. It's not always easy, but then again, nothing truly valuable ever is. Scorpio-Gemini. At first glance, Scorpio and Gemini seem like two characters from completely different novels, one a brooding psychological thriller, the other a witty and fast-paced comedy. Scorpio, ruled by Pluto, is private, emotionally intense, and all about depth, loyalty, and long-term bonds. Gemini, ruled by Mercury, is light-hearted, changeable, intellectually curious, and constantly in motion, mentally, socially, and often physically. When these two cross paths, the energy is both fascinating and confusing. Can the emotional storm of Scorpio really find peace in the breezy, ever-changing winds of Gemini? In marriage, this duo must work harder than most to understand and value each other's very different languages of love. From the very beginning, their dynamic is intriguing. Scorpio is intrigued by Gemini's mind, its speed, its wit, and its seemingly endless range of interests. Gemini, in turn, is drawn to Scorpio's mystery, intensity, and emotional magnetism. It's like watching a cat chase a shadow. Gemini keeps coming back to try and figure out what Scorpio is really thinking, and Scorpio, fascinated, watches Gemini dance around with a smile that hides both amusement and curiosity. The initial attraction is often built on contrast. Gemini feels alive in Scorpio's presence, like they're touching something more meaningful than their usual flirtations. Scorpio, meanwhile, is momentarily uplifted by Gemini's brightness and carefree laughter, like stepping out into the sun after years in a cool, hidden cave. But as the relationship deepens, so do the challenges. Scorpio seeks emotional fusion. They want a partner who can meet them in the deepest waters of vulnerability, loyalty, and commitment. Gemini prefers to stay on the surface of things, at least emotionally, and often resists being pinned down by heavy expectations. In marriage, this can create a major rift. Scorpio may begin to feel that Gemini is elusive, unreliable, or not taking the relationship seriously. Gemini, in turn, can feel smothered or judged, overwhelmed by Scorpio's intense emotional needs and unspoken expectations. Scorpio might become suspicious, questioning Gemini's loyalty or motives, while Gemini starts to distance themselves, not out of malice, but simply as a defense against emotional overload. Communication styles are another point of friction. Gemini loves to talk, share ideas, and jump from topic to topic. They're intellectual explorers, always seeking the next conversation that lights up their mind. Scorpio communicates with silence, with eyes, with energy. They want their words to mean something. They prefer to dive deep into one subject, usually one that has emotional resonance. So, while Gemini wants to talk about the latest news, social drama, and then pivot to a funny memory, Scorpio might still be sitting with the weight of something Gemini said 5 minutes ago. This disconnect can be frustrating. Gemini may feel like they're being emotionally interrogated, while Scorpio feels like they're being emotionally ignored. And yet, for all their differences, there is unique potential here, if both partners are willing to grow. Gemini brings levity to Scorpio's often shadowy emotional world. They remind Scorpio that not everything needs to be felt so deeply, that laughter and lightness have their own kind of healing power. Gemini teaches Scorpio to breathe, to move, to let go, just a little. Scorpio, in turn, offers Gemini something rare, emotional grounding. They help Gemini slow down long enough to truly feel, to go beyond thinking and talking into the realm of emotional presence. Scorpio can teach Gemini about intimacy, depth, and the power of staying rather than fleeing when things get heavy. In marriage, the key to making this union work lies in mutual respect and patience. Scorpio must learn not to take Gemini's restlessness personally. It's part of who they are, not a reflection of disloyalty. Gemini must recognize that Scorpio's emotional intensity is not an attempt to control but a desire for real connection and safety. Boundaries are essential here. Scorpio must resist the urge to hold too tightly, and Gemini must avoid the temptation to run when things get uncomfortable. Both need to find a shared emotional rhythm, one that allows Gemini room to move and Scorpio the depth they crave. When this balance is struck, something truly magical happens. They become each other's missing piece. Gemini brings ideas, spontaneity, laughter, and adaptability. Scorpio brings passion, devotion, transformation, and unwavering support. This marriage, while not the easiest, can be one of the most rewarding for both partners. They challenge each other to grow in ways they never expected. Gemini discovers the beauty of emotional commitment, and Scorpio learns the power of lightness and change. Together, they don't just make each other better, they make each other whole. Scorpio Cancer. This is not just a romantic pairing, it's an emotional epic, the kind of love that poets try to describe and usually fall short. When Scorpio and Cancer come together, it's like two rivers flowing into one another, merging into a powerful emotional current that runs deeper than surface-level attraction. Both are water signs, and because of that, they share an intuitive connection that doesn't require constant words or explanations. It's all about feeling. From the beginning, there's a sense of familiarity, almost like they've met before in another life. Their bond forms quickly, but it's not a wildfire, it's a slow-burning flame that builds into something truly profound and enduring. What makes this connection so potent is that both Scorpio and Cancer are deeply emotional, but in different ways. Scorpio feels things with an intensity that can be overwhelming, almost volcanic at times. They don't just love, they obsess, protect, and commit with their whole soul. Cancer, by contrast, is emotional in a softer, more nurturing way. They are the caregivers of the Zodiac, offering comfort, affection, and a sense of emotional safety that Scorpio secretly craves. In marriage, these differences become gifts. Cancer provides a safe haven for Scorpio's storms, while Scorpio becomes Cancer's rock, shielding them from the world when they feel vulnerable or afraid. This union often begins with a deep and immediate connection that feels unshakable. They may meet and feel like they've known each other forever. There's a psychic bond between them that makes communication almost telepathic. They get each other without having to explain much. Scorpio is moved by Cancer's tenderness, and Cancer feels seen and protected by Scorpio's strength. They fall into a rhythm of mutual caretaking that is rare and beautiful. Whether it's a quiet night at home or navigating life's big decisions, they naturally move in sync, each anticipating the other's needs, often without a word being spoken. However, no relationship, even one with this kind of soul-level resonance, is without its challenges. Scorpio is direct, confrontational, and unafraid to stir the emotional pot if something feels off. They want to face issues head-on, to dissect the emotional truth and fix what's broken. Cancer, on the other hand, shies away from conflict. They fear hurting others and often bury their feelings, hoping things will just resolve on their own. In marriage, this can become a significant point of tension. Scorpio may grow frustrated with Cancer's emotional retreat, interpreting it as dishonesty or avoidance. Cancer, meanwhile, might feel bulldozed by Scorpio's intensity, leading them to shut down or become passive-aggressive rather than express their true emotions. Another area to navigate is Scorpio's tendency toward control and possessiveness. Once they commit, they don't want to share their partner's attention, affection, or loyalty with anyone else. Cancer, while naturally loyal, is also very social and giving, especially with family and friends. Scorpio may misinterpret this as emotional wandering, which can trigger jealousy or mistrust. At the same time, Cancer might feel confined by Scorpio's need for exclusivity, even if they understand it's coming from a place of love. To avoid emotional misunderstandings, both partners must be exceptionally honest and patient. Cancer needs to speak up, even when it's hard, and Scorpio must learn to let go of the urge to control what they fear losing. The beauty of this match is that despite any obstacles, both Scorpio and Cancer are emotionally invested in making their marriage work. They don't walk away easily. They're both incredibly loyal and deeply committed to the people they love. When problems arise, they are more likely to retreat, regroup, and try again rather than throw in the towel. They are both sensitive, but not fragile. They're resilient in love. When Scorpio learns to temper their intensity with compassion, and Cancer learns to bring their emotions to the table instead of hiding them away, the result is a marriage built not only on passion and devotion, but also on growth and transformation. In the end, Scorpio and Cancer don't just build a relationship, they build a sanctuary. Their marriage can be a place of deep healing for both. Scorpio feels safe enough to be vulnerable, to take off their emotional armor. Cancer feels strong enough to assert their needs and receive as much as they give. They learn from each other in quiet, intimate ways. And as the years go by, this relationship only deepens. It's not a flash-in-the-pan romance, it's a lifelong symphony of emotion, trust, loyalty, and mutual evolution. For these two water signs, love isn't just something they feel, it's something they become. Scorpio-Leo. This pairing is less a gentle waltz and more a dramatic tango, intense, passionate, and potentially combustible. Scorpio and Leo are two of the Zodiac's strongest personalities, both incredibly proud, fiercely loyal, and deeply committed to living life on their own terms. When they come together, it's rarely casual. The connection is powerful, magnetic, and unforgettable. But it's also complex. These are two fixed signs, meaning neither gives in easily. In love, they're fire and ice, Leo burns bright and bold, Scorpio simmers deep and slow. In marriage, this duo can feel like a constant push and pull, a balancing act between admiration and intensity, independence and intimacy, light and shadow. If they can manage their differences with mutual respect, they won't just be a couple, they'll be a dynasty. From the moment they meet, the attraction is undeniable. Leo shines with a natural charisma that captures attention without trying. They are confident, expressive, and unapologetically themselves. Scorpio, in contrast, draws people in through mystery and magnetism. Where Leo dazzles with presence, Scorpio captivates with intensity. They instantly recognize each other as powerful forces, and that recognition either ignites mutual fascination or sparks rivalry. Leo is used to being admired. Scorpio doesn't give admiration easily, and this dynamic both intrigues and frustrates Leo. At the same time, Scorpio is used to being in control emotionally. But Leo isn't one to be emotionally dominated or led from the shadows. It creates a tension that's charged with both attraction and challenge. As their connection deepens, so does the potential for conflict. Scorpio seeks emotional depth, loyalty, and total commitment. They want to know their partner inside and out, to uncover their soul and build a bond that nothing can shake. Leo, while deeply loyal in their own right, also needs space to shine. They thrive on appreciation, admiration, and being seen as the center of their partner's world. Scorpio's intense focus can sometimes feel suffocating to Leo, especially if it starts to look like control or jealousy. Conversely, Leo's need for external validation, whether through social engagement, career, or attention, can trigger Scorpio's deep-rooted insecurities and trust issues. In marriage, this dynamic often leads to a subtle, or not so subtle, power struggle. Who leads? Who supports? Who gets the final say? Scorpio tends to prefer working behind the scenes, pulling the emotional and strategic strings. Leo prefers being out front, commanding attention and leading with pride. If neither is willing to compromise, the relationship can become a battlefield of wills, with each partner trying to outmaneuver the other emotionally or assert dominance in their own way. Scorpio may retreat into brooding silence or emotional manipulation, while Leo might lash out dramatically or seek admiration elsewhere to reaffirm their worth. But here's the secret to their success: mutual recognition. If Scorpio can acknowledge Leo's need for praise without seeing it as shallow, and if Leo can understand Scorpio's emotional intensity as a sign of devotion rather than control, they can unlock a powerful synergy. Scorpio brings depth, intuition, and emotional insight. Leo brings warmth, courage, and vision. Together, they can form a bond built on mutual empowerment. Scorpio becomes the quiet strength behind Leo's light, offering support and protection. Leo becomes the bold voice that helps Scorpio step out of the shadows and into their own power. Instead of competing for control, they learn to share it, and this transforms the relationship entirely. Emotional communication is critical in this marriage. Scorpio must resist the urge to test Leo's loyalty through silence, secrecy, or emotional games. Leo, in turn, must avoid dismissing Scorpio's emotions as overly dramatic or intense. They both need to feel safe, valued, and appreciated, just in very different ways. Scorpio needs consistent emotional security, Leo needs recognition and affirmation. When these needs are honored rather than questioned, the foundation of the marriage becomes remarkably strong. When Scorpio and Leo are aligned, they truly shine. This is the couple that others admire, not just for their presence, but for their power. They can build an empire together, rooted in passion, loyalty, and a shared sense of purpose. They're not the type to fade into the background. Together, they're larger than life. Their love becomes something legendary, not just passionate, but purposeful, not just magnetic, but deeply committed. And while the road may be intense and filled with fiery moments, when they choose each other fully and equally, they become something rare, a power couple in the truest sense of the word. Scorpio-Virgo. This is a pairing that doesn't shout its love from the rooftops, it speaks in quiet glances, late-night conversations, and an unshakable sense of mutual understanding. Scorpio and Virgo may not be the Zodiac's most obvious match, but their bond runs deep beneath the surface. It's the kind of connection that begins in silence and builds slowly, gaining strength through shared values, mental depth, and emotional resilience. Scorpio brings emotional insight and passionate loyalty, Virgo offers thoughtful dedication and calm precision. In marriage, this duo creates a partnership that feels safe, smart, and steadily growing, never flashy, but undeniably powerful. From the very beginning, the connection between Scorpio and Virgo is rooted in mutual intrigue. Virgo notices Scorpio's composed exterior and senses the complexity underneath. There's something magnetic about Scorpio's quiet intensity, something that challenges Virgo's analytical mind and awakens a desire to understand more. Meanwhile, Scorpio is drawn to Virgo's calm, intelligent presence. Virgo doesn't overwhelm or demand attention, rather, they invite Scorpio's trust with a quiet steadiness that feels rare and reliable. The attraction isn't explosive, but it's deeply grounding. It's the beginning of something that neither rushes nor fizzles. Instead, it builds, deliberately, meaningfully. What makes this pairing especially unique is their shared preference for depth over drama. Neither Scorpio nor Virgo is interested in surface-level relationships. They both want substance, and they're willing to do the emotional and intellectual work required to build something lasting. Virgo brings a sense of order and logic to the relationship, helping Scorpio articulate emotions that might otherwise stay buried. Scorpio brings emotional truth to the table, helping Virgo connect with their feelings in a more profound way. Together, they create a balanced dynamic where heart and mind don't compete, they cooperate. Their lives become a private world built on mutual respect, shared routines, and a loyalty that strengthens with time. But every great relationship faces its challenges, and for Scorpio and Virgo, those challenges are subtle but important. Virgo's strength lies in their intellect, precision, and ability to analyze everything, including their partner. While Virgo's intentions are usually helpful, their need to fix or critique can hit Scorpio in a vulnerable place. Scorpio doesn't just hear a suggestion, they feel the emotional weight behind it. A seemingly harmless comment from Virgo can trigger Scorpio's defensiveness, especially if they feel judged or misunderstood. On the flip side, Scorpio's secretive nature and emotional intensity can confuse or frustrate Virgo, who values clear communication and logical explanations. Scorpio may see vulnerability as dangerous, Virgo sees withholding as unproductive. In marriage, the key to overcoming these differences lies in building trust through open and honest dialogue. Virgo needs to learn when to offer support rather than critique, especially when Scorpio is navigating emotional turmoil. Scorpio must learn that not all inquiries from Virgo are attacks, sometimes they're just efforts to understand. When both partners approach the relationship with curiosity rather than defensiveness, conflicts turn into opportunities for deeper connection. Scorpio teaches Virgo the value of emotional depth and intuition, Virgo teaches Scorpio how to find clarity and peace in the midst of emotional storms. What truly sets this pairing apart is their shared desire to grow, both as individuals and as a couple. Scorpio and Virgo are not content with stagnation. They want to improve, refine, and evolve. In marriage, this translates into a partnership that continually strengthens over time. Whether they're building a life together, supporting each other's careers, or simply navigating the everyday rhythms of family life, they approach it as a team. Scorpio brings passion and emotional courage, Virgo brings discipline and thoughtful planning. Together, they handle life's challenges with grace and quiet strength. Their love may not always be loud, but it is unquestionably resilient. Ultimately, Scorpio and Virgo form a relationship that is built to last. It may not begin with fireworks, but it ends with a deep, abiding trust that few couples ever achieve. They're the kind of couple who finish each other's thoughts, who know each other's routines, who face the world with their backs to one another, each knowing the other will never let them fall. Their love story is written in small, meaningful gestures rather than grand declarations. But make no mistake, it's a love that transforms both people for the better. In a world of noise, Scorpio and Virgo find their power in quiet devotion. Scorpio-Libra. This is the classic tale of magnetic opposites drawn into each other's orbits, beauty meeting intensity, charm meeting mystery, air meeting water. Libra, ruled by Venus, floats through life with elegance, diplomacy, and a desire to create harmony. Scorpio, ruled by Pluto and Mars, plunges into the emotional depths, seeking raw truth, passion, and emotional transformation. Together, these two create a dynamic that is as captivating as it is complex. It begins like a dance, graceful, intriguing, full of fascination. But as time passes and layers peel away, they realize that behind their mutual attraction lies a challenge, blending two fundamentally different emotional operating systems into one cohesive life. When Scorpio and Libra first meet, the connection is enchanting. Libra's charm is effortless, their smile disarming. They make people feel seen and appreciated, and Scorpio is no exception. Scorpio, often reserved and skeptical, is intrigued by Libra's ability to navigate social situations with such ease. There's a softness to Libra that draws Scorpio in, a grace that feels both soothing and seductive. Libra, in turn, is fascinated by Scorpio's quiet power. Scorpio doesn't reveal much, but what they do share carries weight and purpose. Libra is intrigued by this depth. It feels like discovering an ancient text, rich with meaning waiting to be deciphered. In those early moments, their differences feel like perfect complements. But as they transition from romance to marriage, those differences can begin to feel more like contradictions than complements. Libra is conflict-averse by nature. They seek balance, peace, and mutual understanding, often at the cost of confronting uncomfortable truths. Scorpio is the exact opposite. They crave emotional honesty, even when it's messy. They would rather argue and reach clarity than tiptoe around unresolved issues. In marriage, this clash in conflict styles can lead to emotional disconnection. Libra may shut down or sugarcoat their feelings to keep the peace, while Scorpio senses the evasion and pushes harder for truth. This push-pull can create cycles of tension that neither fully understands, Libra feeling attacked, Scorpio feeling stonewalled. Libra's social nature is another point of potential friction. Libra thrives in company, often energized by gatherings, conversations, and beauty in all its forms. They enjoy being surrounded by people, by art, by stimulation. Scorpio, while not necessarily antisocial, is far more selective with their time and emotional energy. They prefer deep, meaningful conversations over small talk, and they value privacy above popularity. In marriage, Scorpio might view Libra's social openness as shallow or even flirtatious, triggering feelings of insecurity or mistrust. Libra, on the other hand, may begin to feel isolated or judged for simply being who they are, a lover of lightness and connection. Trust and emotional expression are at the heart of whether this relationship thrives or frays. Scorpio loves deeply but cautiously. They don't offer vulnerability easily, it must be earned. Libra, who often assumes goodwill and leads with trust, might misinterpret Scorpio's caution as coldness. Likewise, Scorpio might mistake Libra's airy charm for insincerity, especially if Libra avoids diving into emotionally heavy territory. For the marriage to flourish, both need to meet in the middle. Scorpio must learn to loosen their grip and allow space for grace and gentleness. Libra must summon the courage to be direct, even when it's uncomfortable, and resist the urge to gloss over deeper emotional needs. Despite the tension, there's real potential here, if both partners are willing to grow. Libra can teach Scorpio the value of peace and perspective. They help Scorpio see that not every battle needs to be fought, that compromise isn't weakness, and that beauty and balance can be powerful healing forces. Scorpio teaches Libra the importance of emotional depth, authenticity, and facing the truth head-on. They show Libra how to love with full presence and how to protect what truly matters. Together, they can create a relationship that is both refined and profound, where grace meets substance, and passion is tempered with compassion. In the long run, a marriage between Scorpio and Libra succeeds through conscious effort. This isn't a relationship that runs on autopilot, it demands presence, emotional maturity, and a willingness to stretch beyond personal comfort zones. When they stop trying to change each other and start appreciating what each brings to the table, something beautiful happens. Libra brings the light, Scorpio brings the gravity. Libra offers charm and diplomacy, Scorpio brings devotion and depth. Scorpio. When two Scorpios come together, it's not a relationship, it's an alchemical fusion. There's no middle ground with this pairing. It's either soul-deep devotion or a slow-burn emotional implosion. Scorpio is one of the most emotionally intense signs in the zodiac, ruled by both Pluto, the planet of transformation, and Mars, the planet of action and desire. So when you double that intensity, you don't just get more emotion, you get a relationship that operates in extremes. A Scorpio-Scorpio marriage can feel like the ultimate love story, secretive yet loyal, passionate yet protective, tender yet turbulent. But it's also a pairing that must be navigated with extreme emotional intelligence. Because what makes them powerful together can also be what tears them apart. The initial attraction between two Scorpios is magnetic and almost eerie in its strength. There's an unspoken recognition when they meet, as if they've finally encountered someone who speaks their emotional language. Both are naturally guarded, yet they sense the depth in each other and feel safe enough to open up, even if only slightly at first. There's a slow unraveling, a peeling back of layers that happens only when trust begins to form. Each partner respects the other's emotional complexity and depth, which makes early communication feel surprisingly natural. They both crave intensity, and in each other, they find a partner who not only matches their emotional depth but reflects it right back. This creates a powerful feedback loop of attraction, where one Scorpio's strength feeds the other's vulnerability, and vice versa. In marriage, this mutual understanding can become the relationship's greatest strength. Both Scorpios instinctively know what the other needs on an emotional level. They recognize each other's silences, mood swings, and need for solitude, not as rejection, but as part of the emotional process. They understand the sacredness of privacy and respect each other's need for space. This empathy forms the bedrock of an unbreakable emotional bond, one built not just on words, but on shared energy and intuitive understanding. When they're in sync, they don't need explanations. A glance, a gesture, a tone of voice is often enough. And this depth allows them to build a safe emotional harbor, something both Scorpios need but rarely find. But with all that depth comes danger. The very intensity that binds them can also lead to serious challenges, especially when it comes to trust and power. Scorpio is famously suspicious, often needing reassurance that their partner is truly loyal and emotionally invested. When two Scorpios are together, these trust issues can double. If one feels even slightly betrayed, whether it's emotional distance, a broken promise, or just a shift in energy, the reaction can be volcanic. Scorpio doesn't forgive easily, and they never forget. In marriage, this can result in emotional standoffs, where neither partner is willing to yield, but both are silently nursing wounds. The potential for deep resentment is high, especially if either partner feels emotionally unsafe or vulnerable in a way they didn't expect. Power struggles are another pitfall. Scorpios like to be in control, not out of ego, but out of a deep desire for emotional safety. When both partners want to steer the ship, it can lead to a silent tug-of-war, filled with emotional tests, mind games, and passive-aggressive behavior. Neither likes being told what to do. Both want to be the emotionally dominant force in the relationship. If not addressed openly, this can create cycles of competition, rather than cooperation. The marriage can begin to feel less like a partnership and more like a battlefield where each is trying to win instead of grow. And with two Scorpios, when emotional wars happen, they go deep, they hit where it hurts most. Yet, despite the volatility, this union has the potential to become one of the most transformative relationships either partner will ever experience. Scorpio is the sign of rebirth, after all. If both partners are willing to evolve together, confronting their demons, letting go of past hurts, and committing to full emotional transparency, they can create a marriage that is almost mythic in its intensity and strength. This kind of emotional evolution doesn't happen overnight. It requires real vulnerability, honesty, and the willingness to surrender control. Scorpio must learn that love isn't about owning or protecting someone through force, it's about trusting them enough to be completely seen. Once trust is solid, the Scorpio-Scorpio marriage becomes a fortress of loyalty. These two protect each other fiercely. They may be guarded with the world, but with each other, there's a sacred intimacy that no one else can touch. They become each other's confidants, protectors, and emotional mirrors. The relationship turns into a crucible where both are tested, broken down, and rebuilt stronger, together. Scorpio-Sagittarius. This pairing is the definition of emotional friction meeting philosophical freedom, intensity colliding with spontaneity. Scorpio and Sagittarius are as different as deep ocean currents and high-flying arrows, and yet, something about their differences creates undeniable intrigue. Scorpio is all about depth, loyalty, and psychological truth. They crave profound emotional bonds, transformative love, and unwavering commitment. Sagittarius, on the other hand, thrives on independence, optimism, and wide-ranging exploration of ideas, experiences, and the world itself. Marriage between these two is not a gentle fusion, it's a daring experiment in stretching each other beyond their default instincts. It's challenging, yes, but also potentially revolutionary. The initial attraction is often rooted in curiosity and contrast. Scorpio is captivated by Sagittarius's zest for life, their boldness, humor, and philosophical nature. Sagittarius, in turn, is drawn to Scorpio's intensity, magnetism, and emotional presence. There's an electricity here, an opposites attract dynamic that's hard to resist. Sagittarius finds Scorpio fascinating, like a riddle they want to solve but don't fully understand. Scorpio finds Sagittarius refreshing, a blast of fresh air in their usually heavy emotional world. The chemistry is fiery, immediate, and unpredictable. This is not a slow build, it's a match that either ignites with thrilling potential or combusts under emotional stress. But once the initial excitement settles into the routines of marriage, the differences begin to show, and not always softly. Scorpio needs emotional consistency and depth. They want to know their partner is in it for the long haul, committed not just physically but spiritually and emotionally. Sagittarius, however, needs freedom. They bristle at emotional confinement and fear anything that feels too heavy or controlling. In marriage, this contrast can feel like a game of emotional tug-of-war. Scorpio might start to feel ignored, insecure, or suspicious when Sagittarius pulls away to pursue solo interests or adventures. Sagittarius might feel stifled, cornered, or accused when Scorpio seeks more emotional closeness or reassurance. Communication becomes one of the biggest challenges. Scorpio tends to speak in subtext, emotionally charged pauses, and penetrating questions. They want depth, meaning, and truth, especially the truths we often try to avoid. Sagittarius, on the other hand, communicates openly and bluntly, sometimes without considering emotional impact. They value honesty, but they often deliver it with the tact of a firecracker. Scorpio might find Sagittarius's words careless or even hurtful, while Sagittarius can feel confused by Scorpio's emotional nuance or emotional expectations. Misunderstandings are common, and both partners need to develop new emotional languages to connect authentically without wounding one another. Yet within these very challenges lies profound growth, if both are willing to show up and do the inner work. Scorpio must learn to release the need to control every emotional variable. They have to accept that Sagittarius's love is not measured by constant closeness, but by loyalty in motion. Sagittarius must learn that emotional presence doesn't mean restriction. They have to recognize that Scorpio's need for depth isn't a trap, it's a sacred invitation to grow roots, to explore not just the world outside but the world within. When Scorpio gives Sagittarius freedom without guilt, and Sagittarius gives Scorpio emotional consistency without fleeing, the relationship transforms into something incredibly rare. What makes this marriage powerful is how much each partner expands the other's worldview. Scorpio teaches Sagittarius how to stop running, how to sit with discomfort, and how to face emotional truths with courage. They show Sagittarius that real freedom doesn't mean detachment, it means choosing someone, over and over, with full awareness. Sagittarius, in return, teaches Scorpio how to lighten up, how to find joy in uncertainty, and how to trust life without needing to control every outcome. They show Scorpio that love doesn't always have to be so heavy, it can be wild, free, and still deeply sincere. In time, if nurtured with respect and emotional maturity, this pairing becomes a masterclass in evolution. They learn to embrace the duality of their love, passion and perspective, security and spontaneity, intimacy and independence. Scorpio provides the emotional grounding, while Sagittarius brings the vision to lift them both higher. Their marriage may not follow a traditional mold, but that's exactly what makes it powerful. They write their own rules, define love on their own terms, and become something far greater than what either imagined alone. Scorpio-Capricorn. This is a relationship that doesn't come in with fireworks, but it absolutely arrives with intention. When Scorpio and Capricorn come together, there's an instant sense of gravity between them, as if both recognize a kindred seriousness in the other. These are two of the most emotionally self-controlled and determined signs in the zodiac, and when paired, they have the potential to create one of the most enduring, resilient, and quietly powerful marriages imaginable. Their bond isn't about loud declarations or constant affection, it's about loyalty, purpose, and building something that lasts. Together, they are the architects of a life with deep roots and meaningful legacy. Scorpio brings emotional intelligence and an almost psychic ability to read people. They move through the world with an intensity that few can match, always searching for authenticity and emotional depth. Capricorn, by contrast, is pragmatic, grounded, and strategic. They don't get swept away by emotion, they process everything through a filter of reason, discipline, and long-term consequences. While that might seem like a potential mismatch, in truth, their traits complement each other beautifully. Scorpio sees beneath Capricorn's stoic exterior and understands that, under all that structure, is a heart yearning for deep connection. Capricorn respects Scorpio's emotional strength and appreciates their unwavering loyalty and sense of emotional responsibility. From the beginning, this relationship is approached with caution and care. Neither Scorpio nor Capricorn rushes into love, or anything, for that matter. They are both naturally guarded and selective about who they let into their inner world. This slow pace is not only comfortable but essential. It allows trust to grow organically, brick by brick. Scorpio tests before trusting. Capricorn observes before investing. But when they do commit, they are all in. In marriage, this mutual sense of loyalty and dependability forms the bedrock of their relationship. Both partners want something serious, stable, and long-lasting, and neither takes the vows of commitment lightly. One of the biggest strengths of this pairing is their shared ambition and sense of purpose. Both Scorpio and Capricorn are driven in their own unique ways, Scorpio by emotional truth and transformation, Capricorn by achievement and tangible success. Together, they form a powerhouse team that supports one another's dreams and works toward a shared vision. Scorpio provides the emotional intuition and strategic insight, often reading situations and people with eerie accuracy. Capricorn brings practical planning, execution, and a tireless work ethic. This makes them ideal partners not just in love, but in business, family building, and long-term goals. They move like a unit, often silent but always in sync. But even in the strongest foundations, cracks can form if emotional expression is left unchecked. And here is where their biggest challenge lies. Scorpio is a deeply emotional sign, craving vulnerability, intimacy, and complete emotional honesty. Capricorn, though equally capable of love and loyalty, tends to suppress or underexpress their emotions. They may default to solving problems rather than feeling through them, which can leave Scorpio feeling emotionally abandoned or misunderstood. Meanwhile, Capricorn may feel pressured by Scorpio's intense emotional needs, unsure how to meet them without losing their own sense of composure or control. If not addressed, this emotional gap can slowly erode intimacy in the marriage. The key to bridging this divide lies in intentional emotional openness. Scorpio must learn to offer their vulnerability in doses that Capricorn can receive without feeling overwhelmed, while Capricorn must practice expressing their emotions more openly and authentically, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. When both commit to emotional honesty without judgment, something beautiful happens. Capricorn feels safe enough to let their guard down, and Scorpio feels seen and validated. In this space of mutual safety, their love deepens, and their trust becomes unshakable. What makes this marriage truly special is its longevity and depth. Scorpio and Capricorn don't just stay together, they grow together. They weather storms with a shared determination that few other couples possess. Their loyalty isn't just spoken, it's proven, time and time again. They are the couple who stand side by side during life's hardest moments, unflinching and united. They may not be overly affectionate in public, but behind closed doors, their love is quiet, fierce, and profoundly stable. Over time, the relationship between Scorpio and Capricorn matures into something both rare and powerful. It becomes a sanctuary of trust and respect, where both partners feel empowered, supported, and safe to be their truest selves. Scorpio learns that structure doesn't kill emotion, it protects it. Scorpio Aquarius. This pairing is like mixing ice and fire, not because they cancel each other out, but because when handled with care, they create something entirely unique. Scorpio and Aquarius are two fixed signs, which means both are intensely committed to their values, and neither is known for backing down. But that's where their similarities end. Scorpio is emotional, mysterious, and deeply private. Aquarius is cerebral, unpredictable, and focused on the future. One seeks connection through emotional depth and intimacy, the other seeks understanding through logic and idealism. In a marriage, these two don't naturally blend, they collide, challenge, and confuse each other. But through that friction, something remarkable can emerge, a bond that forces both individuals to grow beyond what they thought love could be. From the outset, the attraction between Scorpio and Aquarius is often fueled by intrigue. Scorpio is fascinated by Aquarius's unshakable individuality and their refusal to conform. There's a sense of rebellion in Aquarius that Scorpio finds oddly captivating, even if they don't fully understand it. Aquarius, in turn, is drawn to Scorpio's intensity, the sense that beneath that cool surface lies an ocean of emotion and truth. For a sign that thrives on curiosity, Scorpio is a puzzle worth solving. The chemistry is unconventional, fueled by fascination rather than familiarity. Each sees in the other something rare, a kind of power that doesn't beg for attention, but demands respect. But where the initial connection is fueled by mystery and intrigue, the reality of daily married life can expose the vast differences in how these two signs operate. Scorpio craves emotional closeness, loyalty, and consistency. They want to know their partner deeply, and they're willing to spend years peeling back the layers to get there. Aquarius, by contrast, values personal freedom, space, and autonomy. They thrive in the realm of ideas, not emotions. In a marriage, this can leave Scorpio feeling emotionally starved or excluded, while Aquarius might feel cornered or misunderstood. Scorpio wants to merge souls. Aquarius wants to orbit side by side, connected but always free. Communication can also be a source of tension. Scorpio is intuitive and emotionally nuanced, often speaking in layered subtext, body language, or deep silences. They crave emotional authenticity and can become suspicious when something feels off. Aquarius, however, tends to speak in concepts, theories, and broad ideas, often bypassing emotional depth in favor of rational distance. Scorpio might view this as evasiveness or emotional immaturity, while Aquarius may find Scorpio's probing and intensity to be controlling or unnecessarily dramatic. Without a shared emotional language, misunderstandings can grow quickly, and both partners may retreat into themselves rather than engage. Yet this very tension is what creates the possibility for tremendous growth. Scorpio can teach Aquarius the power of emotional presence, the importance of being fully in the relationship, not just intellectually committed but emotionally available. Scorpio shows Aquarius that intimacy doesn't equal restriction, and that deep connection can be liberating, not limiting. Aquarius, in return, teaches Scorpio to detach without disconnecting, to embrace the big picture and to love someone for who they are, not just for how they emotionally respond. They challenge Scorpio to see love as expansive, open-ended, and driven by shared ideals rather than just raw emotional instinct. If they can learn to respect each other's fundamental differences, without constantly trying to change one another, this marriage becomes one of the most original and dynamic pairings in the zodiac. Aquarius brings vision, invention, and an openness to the unconventional. They dream big and push boundaries, which can help Scorpio rise above their emotional underworld and see things from a broader, more hopeful perspective. Scorpio, on the other hand, grounds Aquarius, offering emotional depth, unwavering loyalty, and a spiritual richness that Aquarius might not seek, but ultimately comes to value deeply. Together, they can build a love that isn't just about comfort, but about evolution. At its best, this marriage thrives not in spite of their differences, but because of them. Scorpio and Aquarius challenge each other to think differently, love differently, and live more authentically. They may never be the kind of couple that finishes each other's sentences or naturally falls into an easy rhythm, but they will never be boring. Their bond, if nurtured with mutual respect, becomes a continuous exchange of energy between mind and heart, logic and emotion, innovation and loyalty. Scorpio Pisces. This match reads like poetry written underwater, mystical, flowing, and emotionally saturated. Scorpio and Pisces are both water signs, which means they speak the same elemental language, one of intuition, feeling, empathy, and emotional resonance. But they each express water differently. Scorpio is the storm, intense, protective, emotionally complex, and deeply private. Pisces is the mist, gentle, romantic, spiritually open, and infinitely imaginative. When these two come together in marriage, the result can be breathtaking. There's an almost psychic bond between them, a feeling that they were made from the same emotional material, just sculpted in different ways. If nurtured with care, this union can feel less like a relationship and more like a sacred connection. From the beginning, Scorpio is drawn to Pisces in a way that bypasses logic. Pisces doesn't force their presence, they just are, with softness, compassion, and a willingness to truly see the soul of another. Scorpio, who is used to guarding their heart and hiding their vulnerabilities, is often disarmed by Pisces' natural warmth and unconditional acceptance. Pisces doesn't judge, they intuit. And that is something Scorpio rarely experiences. In turn, Pisces is captivated by Scorpio's quiet strength and emotional intensity. They sense a powerful protector behind Scorpio's mystery, someone who is capable of both shielding them from the world and understanding their inner ocean of feelings. The connection forms quickly, but it doesn't rush. It deepens with each shared look, each vulnerable moment, each quiet act of loyalty. In marriage, this bond only strengthens. Both Scorpio and Pisces value emotional depth, loyalty, and spiritual connection. They aren't interested in shallow love or transactional partnerships. They want transformation, soul-merging intimacy, and a shared emotional language. Scorpio brings grounded intensity to the relationship, anchoring Pisces when they drift into their dream world or become overwhelmed by life's harshness. Pisces brings forgiveness, imagination, and a softness that teaches Scorpio how to release emotional armor and embrace vulnerability. Together, they build a private world filled with trust, empathy, and emotional reciprocity, a place where both partners feel not only safe but spiritually seen. But even in water, currents can clash. The challenges between Scorpio and Pisces arise not from malice but from the ways they process pain and conflict. Scorpio, when hurt, becomes guarded, suspicious, and occasionally possessive. They want clarity and emotional accountability. Pisces, when overwhelmed, tends to retreat, not to hide, but to protect their delicate inner world. They escape into fantasy, solitude, or silence, which Scorpio can interpret as emotional abandonment or deceit. Scorpio may push for emotional confrontation, while Pisces just wants to avoid conflict and feel peace. This difference in coping mechanisms can lead to misunderstandings, where neither feels fully understood or validated. To maintain harmony, both partners must commit to open, honest, and compassionate communication. Scorpio needs to recognize that not every silence is suspicious and that Pisces' retreat is often a cry for gentleness, not distance. Pisces needs to learn that emotional avoidance only feeds Scorpio's fears and that sometimes, the most loving thing they can do is stay present, even when it's hard. When both partners lean into empathy rather than fear, they can navigate even the toughest emotional waters together. Pisces teaches Scorpio that emotional depth doesn't have to be heavy, it can be fluid, forgiving, and beautiful. Scorpio teaches Pisces that true love is not just dreamy, it's fiercely protective, loyal, and enduring. The magic of this marriage lies in its ability to transform pain into healing, fear into trust, and emotional vulnerability into unshakable intimacy. Together, Scorpio and Pisces are dreamers, lovers, healers, and protectors. Their connection feels spiritual because it is. This is a union that reaches far beyond physical chemistry or emotional comfort. It's about soul recognition. They may be quiet to the outside world, but within their relationship exists an entire universe, one that moves to the rhythm of emotional honesty, spiritual growth, and mutual devotion. As the years go on, this relationship tends to deepen rather than settle. These two are never truly bored with each other because they're always discovering new layers of emotion, intuition, and spiritual insight. They grow together, not just in love, but in compassion, resilience, and creative expression. Scorpio helps Pisces put dreams into motion. Pisces helps Scorpio remember the beauty of softness. Together, they become more than they were alone, a union of strength and surrender, intensity and inspiration. So, what does it all mean for Scorpio in marriage? To understand Scorpio in marriage is to understand a soul who doesn't just love. You're either etched into their bones or you never got in at all. Scorpio is not interested in halfway connections or lukewarm promises. When they choose a partner, they're choosing with the full force of their heart, intuition, and unwavering loyalty. Marriage for Scorpio isn't just a social structure or legal bond, it's a sacred pact, a merger of souls, a lifelong transformation. They're not looking for someone to simply stand beside them. They want someone who can walk through fire with them, who won't flinch when things get dark, and who understands that emotional truth, no matter how messy, is the foundation of real love. A Scorpio in marriage gives all of themselves, but they also expect all of you. This isn't a sign that's easily fooled by surface-level charm or sweet nothings. Scorpio craves depth, vulnerability, and authenticity. They want to see behind your words, to know your fears, your secrets, your dreams. They're not afraid of your darkness. In fact, they may love you more for it. But what they need in return is someone who can honor that kind of emotional intimacy. Someone who doesn't shy away from late-night conversations, who doesn't run at the first sign of conflict, and who believes, like Scorpio does, that the best love stories are the ones that evolve through pain, trust, and healing. Scorpio's loyalty is fierce and absolute, but it's not given lightly. Trust must be earned, and once it is, Scorpio will protect the marriage with their life. They are the emotional guardians of their union, always scanning the undercurrents for any threat, emotional or otherwise. That protectiveness, however, can sometimes turn into possessiveness if Scorpio's emotional security is shaken. In a healthy marriage, their loyalty becomes a grounding force. But with dishonesty, betrayal, or emotional distance, their intensity can turn into suspicion, jealousy, or even emotional withdrawal. That's why mutual trust, transparency, and emotional availability aren't just nice to have in a marriage with a Scorpio, they are non-negotiable. Despite their reputation for being intense, Scorpio can be incredibly tender, nurturing, and emotionally generous in marriage. They are intuitive lovers, tuned into their partner's needs, desires, and moods. They notice the things left unsaid. They hold space for deep healing. They remember what matters to you and show love in profoundly personal ways, often in silence, through actions rather than words. But in order for them to truly thrive in a marriage, they need to feel safe enough to let their guard down. To be vulnerable without fear. To not just be strong, but to rest in someone else's strength. The right partner for Scorpio isn't just a lover, they're an emotional home. In the end, marriage with a Scorpio is not for everyone. It's intense. It's consuming. It's transformative. It will challenge you to face yourself, to feel deeply, and to grow continually. But for those who are willing to meet Scorpio in that emotional depth, to honor their complexity, and to love with equal strength and integrity, what's waiting on the other side is extraordinary. A bond that defies time. A connection that can weather any storm. A love that reshapes the soul. Remember, astrology is a map, not a rulebook. The stars point the way, but it's your heart that chooses the path. And if your heart leads you to Scorpio, know this, it may not always be easy, but it will always be real. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into Scorpio's marriage compatibility, hit that like button, subscribe for more astrological insights, and don't forget to check the links in the description for more cosmic wisdom. Until next time, keep your hearts open, your boundaries strong, and your stars aligned.